It's Orange and Blue today, live at the Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. And Andrew Mason, today's show is all about defense because this Broncos team needs to improve that run defense.
No doubt. And, you're walking down the street and chewing gum at the same time. You're trying to fix the offense, quarterback and tight end currently being the top priorities, but also working on the defense. Just noting real quick, Broncos will be meeting with Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix here at the Combine. That is not altogether unexpected, but
right.
As we'll get into, lots of meetings happening elsewhere in an area of need.
Yes, an area of need up front on that defensive line, and it's why run stuffers are kind of the order of the day. But Mace, it's all about, securing that run defense, especially if you're playing with a young quarterback, because if a team gets a lead, well, they can just keep running on you. Stop the run, priority number one.
And how often was that a problem last year, that teams could just grind down the Broncos? I mean,
right.
You could look at run defense and say, if you weren't the worst in the league for an extended period of time, the Washington game is different.
Yes.
The New York Jets game is different. And all of a sudden, you've turned 8 wins to 10. The other thing, of course, that happens when you can't defend the run is that you pull away from a strength of your defense, which is in the pass defense and trying to get people to test Pat Surtain, give him a chance to make plays. If you can't defend the run, somebody like Pat Surtain basically becomes ornamental,
yes,
rather than impactful.
Yes, and you got to change that, and that's why, even though he only had 10 minutes at the podium, I think George Paton kind of gave us some clues yesterday, and hey, run defense is at the top of their list.
Yeah, I mean, we feel like we need to be better in the run. We need to stop the run better. We were inconsistent in a lot of things we did. Week 1 through 6, or 1 through, the first 6 games, we were the worst defensive in the league, and then the final 11, we were top 10, top 5 in a lot of metrics. So really just be more consistent. I think we need to get better inside, stopping the run, just be more disciplined.
Well, that's right. You heard it from George Paton. They do need to be better against the run, and that comes from defensive line and linebackers, which we'll get to as well.
It does, and thus, you always focus on what they do, what they say. In this case, what they're saying, run defense is the priority, and what they're doing and already seeing here, that is in perfect alignment. And one name in particular, in regards to defending the run, we've talked about him, Fabien Lovett from Florida State University. He's fighting the perception of being a two-down defensive lineman. He's like, hey, I've got some pass rush skills as well. But the first thing that's going to get him on the field is what he can do against the run. He
Yes.
can occupy multiple blockers, break through multiple blockers. That's a key thing. He can not only occupy them, but he can also, make a move and split through a double team, get into the backfield. We saw him wreck run plays at the Shrine Bowl practices to a degree to where the offense could not figure out the ground game.
You couldn't do the
until
rep.
unless he was off the field. You're right.
Right,
They could
right.
not execute a rep because he was blowing them up so consistently. And the only thing is, run defense, it's not a highly coveted skill set, which is
Right.
Mm-hmm.
why you're going to probably see Lovett slip into the late 3rd, early 4th round. But it's a skill set that the Broncos desperately need. And that's why you're looking at, okay, there's all these things that you have to fill over the course of the draft and free agency. And yes, they're going to sit out kind of most of the first wave of free agency, not be as active as they were last year.
Right.
But I think we're going to be looking at a two-pronged solution to get things right on the defensive line. I think you're going to see a second wave free agent or two, and I think you're going to see a mid-round pick whose strength is run defense. And again, Fabien Lovett matters because who did the Broncos have one of their first formal interviews with after they got here was Fabien Lovett.
Yeah, that's right. And they show up, they interview Lovett. I want to talk about your love for him, though, because it was at the Shrine Bowl practices where you fell in love with him quickly. We talked to him today. He said his favorite thing is throwing guys around. You love that answer.
Yes.
But you, my friend, and we fall in love on these trips, right? We see these players. We know these guys, right?
We know what we like, and we like what we know.
Lovett was one that you wanted to know more about as soon as we saw him in Texas.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a formal meeting with the Broncos 2 days ago. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I liked how they came off. I like their energy. I think they like me. I'm not really sure, but I enjoyed it. I like them as a team. I like how they presented and how they did everything. So it was pretty smooth.
We're fighting the moving shadows here a little bit, but yeah, there he is talking about his interview with the Broncos. And you're only allowed 60 interviews here, and we know quarterback a huge priority. I mean,
yes.
We know of 3, I believe even 4 interviews as well, because Michael Pratt, who the people with the Broncos interviewed down at the Senior Bowl, he is also on the list that the Broncos are talking to here.
Yes.
We presume Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May are going to be on that list as well.
Lots of quarterbacks.
Yeah, so that's at minimum 7 quarterbacks out of 60. 60 is not much larger than a 53-player roster, and you never carry 7 quarterbacks. So there you go.
Yeah.
It tells you kind of where their points of emphasis are, but between Lovett, learning that they're talking to some of the linebackers here, particularly guys they project as inside linebackers.
Yes.
A key priority here is the core of that defense. The guys who operate in the box, the area where there were so many gaps last year, where the gap integrity at times was just non-existent.
Yes, and run defense is more than see ball, get the ball. You know, for linebackers, for me, it's scrape and flow. We'll talk more about ILB in just a little bit. But for those guys like Lovett up front, and he talked about today, about being smart and diagnosing things. Again, it's more than just, I got to shed my guy and find the ball carrier. It's understanding angles. It's understanding how they're trying to block you. And Sean Payton, not just looking for football players, he's looking for smart football players.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do. I learned that at Florida State, just being taking notes and being able to remember things on the fly, because at Florida State, just like in the NFL, we put stuff in every day during spring ball, so it kind of builds that habit of being able to remember things and make certain keys and notes.
Fabien Lovett in the spotlight with the Broncos as we're trying to figure out the light here, because we don't want to go outside. It's cold and it's windy.
Right.
We're a little soft
Tornado
today.
warnings yesterday in Indy.
Yeah, storm came through. Broncos are kind of storming through the combine here. Oh, my God.
It's bad, but it's good because we're here for you and
Yes.
trying to find the run defenders and inside linebackers this team is looking for.
Yeah, and now it's a question of, is Drew Sanders a part of those inside linebackers? Because the indication we're getting is that he's regarded as more of an edge right now, and that's something that George Paton touched on when he was asked by yours truly about Drew Sanders on Tuesday.
That's a work in progress. We thought he finished well on the edge. We're going to sit down with Drew and the coaches, and we've had those meetings. You know, I think he'll probably end up on the edge, but he has the flexibility, and he's so talented. It's hard. It's kind of like Baron Browning, and we interviewed a kid last night from Notre Dame who's played inside and outside, and so it's a blessing. Sometimes it's a curse, because they can't get settled in at one position. But once we left Drew at outside, he finished strong, and so we feel good about Drew moving forward.
So there you hear it from George Paton talking about Drew Sanders, more comfortable at edge. I agree with that, Mace, but are you a little shocked that the decision was made this early?
It's not been made. Like George Paton said, there are further discussions to come.
Right.
It's just the indication that you're getting that they're looking at the edge. And you're making those decisions right now because we've gathered, they're talking to potential inside linebackers, talking to a couple of the guys from Notre Dame, for example.
Yeah, Easton Gibbs from Wyoming is on their list as well.
Yes, and I know they chatted with him at the Shrine Bowl
Twice,
where he was one of the guys we spotlighted. Of course, one of the moments we spotlighted was for somebody who his strengths appear to be against the run. He had a very nice diagnosis of a pass in the red zone that he basically picked and took to the house.
Yeah, pick six, yeah.
So that's intriguing as well, that Gibbs, you look at him and you think run stuffer, a little short, squat as far as linebackers go, but at the same time, he's got the instincts to handle work in coverage, in short area coverage. I'm not sure he can stick with a tight end, but if he can take care of some short area stuff, that allows him to be somebody of value. Let's also not forget that they re-signed Jonas Griffith, who's coming off of an injury. And Griffith, remember,
Damn good player when he's healthy.
was tapped to be the starter going into 2022. Alex Singleton's emergence came when an inside linebacker, sometimes it was Josey Jewell, sometimes it was Jonas Griffith, was unavailable to injury. Now, the thing with Jonas Griffith is obviously, the best ability is availability, and he has not had that.
Right.
So I think what that does is, if they move on from Josey Jewell, and I'd say re-signing Griffith kind of tells you that they probably are moving on from Josey Jewell.
And Jewell knew this when we talked to him, cleaning out the lockers on the final day.
Yeah, we've played that interview footage. Like, he had a pretty good idea what was probably coming, what the reality was for him. So with Griffith and Singleton, at least you have two guys that can start together. The question then becomes, do you have a development plan? And when you're seeking out inside linebackers, like you're seeking out defensive tackles, that's telling you kind of where their focus is. But it also just points to the overall focus in terms of the run defense. You're focused on interior defensive linemen, inside linebackers. These are all players that operate inside the box, where you got gashed so often last year. And yes, it's a passing-intensive league. We all get that. But if teams can gash you as consistently as they were, especially early in the season against the Broncos, they're going to contentedly run. And then you're going to have to bring safeties up into the box to compensate for that. And then, by the way, you're exposed because you are running a man down over the top. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point of, like, even in this era of football, it does truly start with defending the run.
I'm getting closer to you because the sun's moving.
That's where the chain reaction begins, and that was where the chain reaction of failure started for the Broncos defense, was because they didn't have gap integrity.
Yeah, and today, even though we're waiting for quarterbacks, which talked to the media on Friday, and then, of course, quarterbacks throw on Saturday, Mason and I will be there, we have a robust day for you here at day 2 for us at the Scouting Combine. That's why we're doing another OBT2 tonight. Lounging around.
Watch out, world.
Watch out. He's Andrew Mason.
Lounging around?
Lounging around.
Oh, yeah, because we're going to find
we're going to
go the comfy chairs over there. Yeah, and sounds like we got a couple more bonuses coming up later on this week as well, with some conversations that we're going to have. Conversations with, I'll just say, smart football people.
Yep.
OBT. That's what we're here for.
That's what it is. OBT is a BFD. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching.
Wait.
What?
You forgot.
What's that?
We
we got to do the YouTube things. You got to help us out. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Dude coming up the escalator is like, what's up with these weirdos?
Holy
weirdos
cow.
in Indy.
We finally nailed it. We
nailed it yesterday, too.
No, that was really nailing it. Come on, man. That was another level.
That was good. That was good.
All right.
In front of a live audience.
An audience of dozens. Maybe half a dozen.
Right.
It actually ends up being dozens if we count everybody came
that's walked by
over time. At any one point, the audience is like 8.
Okay. Well, tonight, OBT2 dropping on YouTube, exclusively on YouTube. Check it out. He's Mace. I'm Cease.